Hey everyone, you're here sewing with Cody, and this evening I'm actually going to just be showing you what I'm kind of working on. Recently I've been doing a lot of embroidery, and I just want to kind of share what I've been doing. So let's take a close look and see what I'm working on. It's a lot of fun stuff. So here this evening I'm in my PJs, so that's why you're not going to see me in the video, which is fine. You'll see some hand action. But what I'm working on this evening and what I have been working on over the weekends is the new Kimberbell Cuties. I'll show a picture so you can see the book and what some of the designs are, what we're doing. But basically the Kimberbell Cuties are these monthly table toppers, and everything's done in the embroidery, which is really cool. So that's what I've been doing. So this is April's month, but I've already done January, February, and March, which are super adorable. I'll post some pictures so you can see what the ones that I've done so far. But this one here is April. So it's got cute little bunny rabbits. But what's so cool about what all the Kimberbell stuff has is, so like in the book that has all the embroidery designs, it has different designs for each month. So these go in the corner, and this actually uses velveteen, so it gives it like this really neat texture, kind of like a thin velvet. But not furry like Cuddle or Minky. But we also have some flex foam underneath it, so it gives us real 3D puffy look. And then we use the little fringe designs, what we do, but this is all in the Kimberbell design, but the little fringe technique, which is super neat. And it's a technique of cutting the bobbin thread after it's done, but it has to be a specific design that's designed to be fringe. But what's really making this super popular, because every customer I've shown it to, they've just gone crazy over it, is not only the cute designs, but also the quilting in the background. Mind you, this was all done basically in one step, and I'll show you what I'm doing. All in one step where it does all of the quilting, and each month has a different quilting design, or actually a set of quilting designs to go with it. So the the April month, for Easter, it has cute little carrots. And so there are four of these because there's four corners, and I think the table toppers end up being about around 22 inches square. So I've already done my four rabbits. But once I started, because there's also a center section. So once I started doing the center sections, I was like, oh, I think people would enjoy seeing kind of what I'm working on, because I'm always doing something. So the center portion, so you've got four corners and you've got four centers. So this month used like little orange peels. But again, we have that I just realized, well, shucks. This is actually the quilting, not for April, but this is the quilting for May. Well, this is embarrassing because I've already done 3 of them. So we'll fix that. So the little butterflies are actually for May, because May, instead of little rabbits in the corner, you have butterflies in the corner, which I haven't even started to do. We just started picking the fabric out today. But yeah, I've stitched out 3 of them, as you can see, and they're all 3 butterflies. Well, I'm going to show you what I'm doing with each one. So hopefully I have the carrots on my USB stick and we'll stitch it correctly. But yeah, so what's neat is, so there's little carrots, supposed to be little carrots for the center portions, and and each month Kim incorporates different types of embroidery techniques. It's all applique, but like this one uses the flex foam and the velveteen. May, which is this background quilting, incorporates mylar and applique. Some of the other ones use glitter vinyl, use chenille, so a number of different fun techniques. I posted a number of this stuff on my Instagram page, which you can find in the description below. But yeah, so what this also does, it incorporates batting. So I'll show you when I walk you through everything that I'm working with. But there's a layer of batting underneath here. So what we'll do is we'll basically trim, once we're done with all the pieces, we'll trim along this outside line, and we'll piece these 4 together, which will have a center section, and then we'll do some sashing, which this is what we have picked up for the sashing, thanks to Jennifer. And then this will be our outer border, and these go in the corners. So let's jump in a second and go to the machine. I'm actually working on the new BERNINA 735, which is cool. But one thing I did want to mention is, anytime we do applique, so anytime we put like all of our applique fabric pieces, and this goes the case for any type of applique, if it's on t-shirts, if it's on towels or whatever, we always should apply some type of fusible interfacing to the back of our applique fabric. It just holds up so much better. And so we like to use, which I've talked about many times, I use in my t-shirt collars, it's a fusible woven. OESD has it, and it's referred to as fusible woven, but Pellon has it as well, and it's referred to as shape flex. It's amazing. It's basically a cotton fabric with fusible on the back. So this works amazing, wonderful. And the best way to adhere it to our fabrics is using a steam iron. So our Laura Stars work beautifully for this, but just about any steam iron will do a great job. And the stabilizer that we're stitching on is just one layer of stabilizer. If most of you know me, I always recommend 2 layers of stabilizer, but for this, because we've got batting as well, and this just simple stitching, we just use 1 layer of a poly mesh. Just something nice and thin and nice and soft, but that is a cutaway. So we're able to do the center portions, if you have a Bernina, we're able to do the center portions in our 5x7, or I like to use my midi hoop, which is a 6.5 by 10.5. But when it comes to doing the quilting for our corner pieces, you can see they're fairly large. If you have a 5x7, you're going to have, if you're going to do the quilting, you're going to have to do it in 3 sections. And Kim has it all mapped out, so it makes it fairly easy, but it does require quite a bit of work. So the benefit of having a large machine, one that has at least a 8x14, I believe, or 8x12. It's all in the instructions. But the one I've been using is the design is a 9x14 design, because she gives you 3 different designs basically. But the one for the 9x14 allows me to use my big maxi hoop, which is a 8x16 hoop. And so I'm able to do this whole thing all in one step. And we'll show you how we did that as well. So we combined multiple designs together in order to have them stitch out all at the same time. The center portions are usually always easier than this one, because we do have to line it up and spin it around. All right, so let me take my tea and we will go to the machine. All right, so we're sitting in front of our BERNINA 735, which is BERNINA's newest machine, actually. So it's just like the 770, except it's a 5.5mm stitch width. I've got a video on this as well, which makes it great for piecing, but it embroiders just as beautiful as any of our other BERNINA 7 series, and we've got this nice big 7-inch touchscreen. So what we've already done is we've already got our stabilizer hoop, which is our poly mesh. I've got my embroidery foot on, I've got my single hole stitch plate on, and I like, especially with doing stuff like this that requires me to cut and move things around, I like to embroider with my slide on table on. You don't have to, but it does give you a nicer work surface to work with. And I've already got my pieces for my little orange peel all cut out ahead of time. And I've already got my piece of batting and my white background fabric, which also has shape flex on the back of it. Keep it nice and sturdy and robust, which is also another reason why we're able to get away with just 1 layer of poly mesh. So let's start from scratch, since I stitched the wrong quilting on the other 3. So I do not have my USB stick in. Let me find it. All right. So let's search through the machine and see what I've got going on. So go to our stick. And here. So you can see on my screen, you can see a number of the other months. So you've got the butterfly for May, the leprechaun for March, April, which is the one we just did with the rabbit. Valentine's has hearts. And we are looking for, what we're looking for is a background quilting for April, which is supposed to be the little carrots. There she is. So there's 2 different backgrounds. There's one for the square centers, and then there's one for the corners, which you can see here, which we've already done. So here's the little carrots for the square center. And so I've got it up. And remember, every time I bring up a design, it always recommends the hoop. It's saying the oval hoop, the large oval hoop, but I'm using the midi hoop. It will recognize it automatically, but you can tell it, and you can see it show up. And I've got, make sure I tell it my number 26 foot, otherwise it won't be happy. And my straight stitch plate All things, if you're familiar with embroidery, you'll know. And this video is just supposed to be fun of what I'm doing in the sewing studio, not necessarily a educational video, but I can't show anybody anything in person or on video without educating them. So here I've got my quilting design up, and we want to put that one up first just because that's the first thing that we wanted to stitch out. You can actually, which is really neat, you can actually have the quilting design either stitch out first, so it's in the background, or you can have it stitch out after your applique, so it looks like you quilted over it. Either way you can do. Looks great, but I like having the quilting first and then the embroidery on top of it. It just looks really neat. So now let's go and select, so we'll add the orange peel. And so what's nice is this design is designed to fit directly on top of it. When we do the triangles, we actually have to rotate them, and move them around a little bit, but there's actually little marks to guide us and to show us where to line everything up. And that's some of the things that I'm going to be teaching in the class to do all these at our shop. So this works out perfect. So now we'll just come here. It wants to move. So we're not going to put a hoop on just yet. Oh, and I do have to say, since I've been working a lot more with the new Smart Drive technology module, it is hands down absolutely amazing. Not only am I able to do all this stuff so much quicker, and I do a lot of freestanding applique and freestanding lace things, which you may have seen on either our Facebook page or my Instagram channel, my Instagram page. But it goes so much quicker because machines are able to move so much faster, especially with the larger hoops. So it's telling me to put my hoop on. So, yeah. So the first thing it's going to do is it's prompting me to have it stitch down a placement line for my batting. So what I like to do, I like to look ahead and see, usually in the instructions, you can do it on the machine as well, look ahead and see what is the first color that I'm actually going to see. So the machine's going to do a lot of placement stitches, a lot of tack down stitches, which are basically placement stitches are going to show me where I need to place fabric or batting in this case, and then a tack down stitch is going to tack it down. So the first thing it's going to do is going to stitch a placement line to show me where to put my batting. The second one will stitch down my batting, and then I'll trim my batting. The third one is going to be a placement stitch for my background fabric. The fourth one is going to be a tack down stitch for my background fabric. And then my fifth color change is going to be the actual quilting of the carrots. Well, the carrots are going to be like a cream, I call it a creamsicle orange. So that's going to be the first color I put in my machine, because that's the color I'm going to see first. Why put something else? So that's the color I usually put on the machine and start stitching all this stuff out is the color I'm going to see. I don't think you can see in the video, but I have the multi-spool holder on here, and the multi-spool holder is wonderful when you're embroidering with a lot of color changes, because you can have all your threads up there. So let's stitch out. And so one thing, I don't know if you noticed, it didn't cut my thread, and that's because my thread cutter is turned off. I want that on. So now this is my placement line, if you can see it. I know the light's kind of bright. My placement line for my batting. So I'll lay my batting down, and just make sure your batting covers the placement stitch. So we'll stitch this guy down. Why is it turned off? So it looks like in my settings, my cutter is, oh, because I was doing quilting on here. Oh, wrong thing. So I had my cutters turned off, which I don't want. Okay. So your best friend when it comes to applique are double curved scissors. And OESD has some really nice double curved scissors, because this is going to make it easier to cut this batting, and we can get really close to the stitches. And this is another benefit. Not that I'm not here to sell machines this evening, but what's really nice about having a larger machine is so much more space just to even work with, because this design can easily be done in just about any embroidery machine. because it's not that big. But having a bigger machine makes it really nice. I even have to take that hoop off to do that. So the next thing it's going to stitch out is my placement stitch for my background fabric. So here's my background fabric. So since we have to do 12 of these, every month we've been choosing a different tonal, like a white on white. And this month is like almost like a little Swiss dot. It's a tiny little dot, which you probably can't even see on camera. So now it's going to stitch the fabric down. So now it's ready for the background quilting. I don't know if you can really see it, but now the little carrots are highlighted. So now we're just going to go quilt those down. Because I think y'all have a big glare. That's too dark. That would be better. Okay, so now it's done. So now it's telling me it's going to start doing the little petals of, I'm going to call them petals, of the orange peel. So it doesn't really matter. We can leave it in this orange thread. Just have it stitched, because you're not going to see it. So what these are actually going to be, it's supposed to be like a little carrot. And then like this one's going to be orange, and these three are going to be green. So I've got my little orange piece. I'll lay this down. And again, because we're still kind of using the orange thread, I'm just going to stitch it in orange. And this is just a tack down. This is just so the fabric stays in place, so I can then trim the excess. And so most of your tack down stitches are going to stitch twice. So it really secures that fabric in place. So now, just so you can probably see a little better, I'm going to use my double curved scissors, and I'm just going to trim the fabric right as close as I can get and as clean as I can keep it right up against that stitching. Just like that. And I'll pop it back on if I had taken the hoop off, which I did. And now I do want to change. So for the carrot, I do have a darker orange. It's a little brighter because it's going. Kimberbell does a lot of cute little decorative stitches for their applique typically. And so you want to make sure, I'm struggling this even, you want to make sure that you're using a thread that's going to pretty much blend in, because she's not going to do a satin stitch around it. And when I mean a thread that blends in for your tack down stitch. So I could change my green thread, but I'm just going to have it stitch again in orange. Well, not again. It's going to stitch down this next little piece, which will be green fabric. So here I've got my next placement line for my next fabric, which I've chosen this particular green, but I am going to change to my green thread that I'm going to use. And I am using the same green for all three of the remainder pieces, which represent the top of our carrot. So I've placed my fabric that has a shape flex on the back of it right over where it just stitched my placement stitch. tail. So now I can cut the excess. And the double curve scissors really make it so much easier to get super close. So now we'll do the second carrot top piece. Which is the darker piece. Lay that right on top. We'll trim this one. And it does help if you kind of pull the fabric, and it makes it tighter, more tension. It makes it easier to cut closer to where the stitch is. Came unthreaded. So here's a trick. So if something happened and you needed to go back, so I could just go to my broken thread and go back a few stitches, but I just want to start this color change basically over again. So what I can do, I can go to my previous one and then go back to the beginning of, or go back to the color change I'm on, and then it will just start straight from the beginning. So this one, we're almost done. We're just going to do, and there's so many times, like again, this isn't a step-by-step tutorial to the book, because I never follow the instructions on anything to the T, which is usually why I mess up sometimes. What the next step is to do a placement stitch, but I know exactly where it's going to be. I know the exact size. I've already got my piece cut. I'm just going to lay it down instead of waiting for it to stitch a placement stitch, and I'm just going to skip ahead to the tack down stitch, which is a double, and stitch it down. So once you feel confident in what you're doing, either knowing your machine or knowing the project you're working with and how the designs are digitized, there's a number of little time-saving things you'll find that you don't necessarily have to always follow, or things you'll find that make things quicker that you don't always have to follow the rules to a T. And skipping certain steps like that, like skipping a placement stitch, you'll find it's not that big of a deal. So that's it. So the design's finished. Super easy, super quick. So doing the centers of a lot of these Kimberbell Cutie Table Topper of the Month from the Volume 2 book, it's just really quick. And the whole, we could easily do the whole table topper in a day without any problems. Because they're designed to be fun, kind of like that instant gratification. That's what's really getting these a lot of customers excited about about doing them. So now the machines are ready to do another one. So now what we'll do is we'll take it out of the hoop. So this yellow ratchet system, just click it and it comes completely out of our hoop. And so what we'll do is, I usually wait till I have everything done. So this is my 4th center that I've completed. However, it is the only one that's actually done correctly. Because this is the only one that has the carrots actually quilted in the background. So I will debate for a minute and decide if I want to stitch 3 more, probably not, or just incorporate this one with the butterfly center. Most people probably never know, and we are human and errors occur, and why waste more fabric just so it's all perfect? But that's just me. I know a lot of our customers will just quickly toss the other ones or set them aside and redo them, but that's not usually how I work, mainly because I'm always 10 steps ahead and ready to work on the next project. But what we'll do is we'll trim along this outside line, and then when we sew it together, especially we have right sides together, we have this original, well, the first placement and tack down stitch for our batting. So what Kim did when she designed these is she designed so the batting is a 1/4 inch away from the edge. So you'll line up the edges of all of the two you're working with to sew them together, but you'll stitch along this line, which will give you a 1/4 inch. So you're not stitching down batting within that 1/4 inch. So everything lays much flatter. It's much smoother. It's wonderful. But that's pretty much it. So that's what I'm working on. And hopefully I'll have it finished by the evening. We'll see. But I just wanted to share what I was working on. And it's just fun. So here is my finished table topper. It's not 100% finished because I still need to put the backing on it. And I just stitch in the ditch, or sometimes do a fun little decorative stitch in the inner borders, and maybe something fun for the outer borders, and something for the little cornerstones in the corners. So one thing with the Kimberbell quilting designs, they do include designs for the inner border, the outer border, and the cornerstones. And especially the cornerstones, they're themed in some manner. The first one, which was January, which was cute little snowman, and he had little skis. So on the cornerstones here, there were a set of snow skis, which were super cute. And I have that stitched on that one. However, I get a little lazy, to be perfectly honest with you, and I don't go and use their quilting designs here, just because they're not themed, so they're not cute little carrots or little things like that. They're just general quilting designs for sashing and borders, but they do fit beautifully here. But there's just more work involved than just doing these guys. So I just skip in, do some fun decorative stitch or something, or just leave it blank, because it is such a narrow little space. You really don't need quilting there. And some of the fabric we've chosen for previous months have already a print going on. This one just so happens to be a lot of blenders. But if there's one thing, if you notice, I did go back and fix something, because as I mentioned earlier, I had stitched 3 background quiltings for 3 of the center squares here, and all 3 of them had the butterflies, which is for May, not for April's table topper. So the one I did in the video with y'all was with the carrots. So I went back and just redid one, because I didn't feel like redoing all 3 of them. Even though I had the fabric, it's because it doesn't take much. But I redid one, so now I've got 2 carrots and 2 butterflies. So for me, as long as it's an even number, I feel happy. So I've got 2 carrots and then 2 butterflies, which is just a precursor for next month's table topper. But I just want to show you what it is, how it came out finished. It ends up being about 22 by 22. The inner border typically is always going to be the binding, because that's how how Kim has your instructions done. So we'll incorporate this cute multicolored stripe in our binding, and that will help tie in some of the fun colors as well. And the back that we have selected is really cute. It's got kind of pastel, like these colors. There's like carrots, cabbage is on like a white background. It's really neat. But that's it. I just want to show you our finished project here, or semi-finished project. I always like doing fun stuff. And maybe I'll start creating videos of just kind of different projects and different things I'm working on. And of course, tie in some educational information, either about stabilizers or needles or thread or machines or whatever I am working on at the moment. But yeah, so if you liked this type of video, comment in the comment section below. And also check out the new merchant shop, which you should see some cool merchandise below the video moving about. Because we were able to set up a whole new website with different sewing themed cups, shirts, sweaters, all different kind of stuff. And some of the proceeds go to help support the channel to be able to bring in some of these products and do certain things. And different camera equipment and lighting, and because it's not cheap. But there's a lot of fun sewing themed stuff on there. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, happy sewing.